What's up, guys? Spring's just around the corner. As the cool temps start to rise, it's freaking game on, man. This is the time of the year that I absolutely love to freaking get out and have some fun, man. This time of the year, things switch up a little bit from the winter patterns, as you know, they start to move away from the deeper channels. They don't stack up as much. They actually spread out pretty equally around. They'll be back in the marshes. They'll be pretty much everywhere, and I'll go ahead and show that in the second part of the video. But at this time of the year, I usually like to go darker or go lighter. I never go in between, as in like a motor oil. I never go in between. It is either dark, as y'all guys know. I freaking absolutely love that color. That's the one I made myself on a weedless. Or I like to go light. Those are the two colors you'll need, especially during the springtime. You know, this time the shad are going to be around. The Manhattan hatch, watermelon shad, they're absolutely everywhere. And if you're a bank fisherman and you don't have a kayak, dude, don't shy away, man. You know they're going to be at the jetties this time of the year, especially those big Manhattan watermelon shad. It absolutely goes fire. There's a reason behind that, man. There's a reason behind why the freaking Jack Crevalle and the Spanish mackerel move in during this time. It's because all that bait, all that migratory bait is freaking hunted every single moment of their lives by those freaking hyperactive fish. And during this time, you cannot go wrong with the freaking topwater, man. Flats will absolutely shine, especially with the topwater and a wake bait. You just got to make sure which flats you're actually hitting, because some of them are super grassy, and all these trebles will not actually work as you think. You may have to go to an inline hook. As you can tell, these are still my go-to colors, all around color, man. Looks exactly like a Manhattan, exactly like a watermelon shad, although this is called speckled trout. And deep in the marsh, I like to go small actually. But I like to go small with a bigger paddle tail. As you can see, this is only a 3.5 inch bait. But with a huge paddle tail, you can get it to stand out amongst all the other mullet, amongst the shad. Indeed, it freaking gets the job done. Sight casting with the bigger mullet, not a bigger mullet, with the bigger lure in the back legs, it just, when it's so shallow, they get spooked very easily. And you usually got to downsize it, which is why I'm actually going to try BFS pretty soon, which is iffy. We can see how it goes. I may like it, I may not. We'll see. See if it gets me on some more fish. Another thing is y'all need to try is when they're super finicky, some freaking shrimp imitations. This one's by Texas Rattler. I'm gonna go ahead and put that little, it's pretty cool, man. It has everything pretty much set up. The weedless hook, some smell, and a freaking awesome looking shrimp. I'm gonna go ahead and chunk those pretty soon, see how they go. But a fish won't shy away from shrimp, man. Like, they absolutely love that stuff. And if you're a bait chunker, nothing against that, man. I chunk bait sometimes, and springtime is a really good time to freaking chunk bait. They will be moving around out them cuts, looking up shallow too. Shrimp will be a good thing, and so will mullet. Manhattan, if you can get a hold of it. Those are freaking baits that will shine, especially once those fish are moving around. They'll be absolutely everywhere. So places you normally fish in the wintertime won't always provide those fish in the springtime. You just gotta look for those things. Alright guys, I'm pretty much gonna show y'all stuff that I like to hit and stuff that will help you be successful, because I know some people always, like this time of the year, people always put out their videos, but everyone has different opinions. This is basically the Corpus Christi area where I fish. Corpus Christi, Rockport, Ranges Pass, and these are the things I'll help y'all like be successful, man. All right, let's go ahead and get to it. All right, guys. Now that we pretty much talked about all the baits, let's go ahead and talk about more of the places that you need to go, especially during the springtime. Let's start off like where I typically hit. Let's go into the marsh. Okay, here's the Oasis Marsh. Alright guys, during this time of the year, they're going to be leaving these main cuts, and they're going to be littered throughout the marsh. Yeah, pretty much, they'll be chasing shrimp and Manhattan super shallow. You got to think again, since it's not wintertime, all this water that's typically 6 to 8 inches is going to be at least a foot at the lowest. And with that depth comes all the fish along with bait. Warmer water pushes them up close, especially in the mornings, which is why in the mornings on grass flats typically the bite is very good. There's little creek mouths like this that in person you would be like, nah, there's no way there would be fish. But typically during the spring, they'll be pushed up there, man, finding shrimp, finding micro bait fish to feed on. And they absolutely love that stuff. And that's the stuff I typically usually hit. Here's another good example down here in Port Bay. Working around all these oysters. Early mornings will still be cool, and oysters will still manage to hold fish, especially during the early colder mornings. There's always, where's oyster, there's mud. And you gotta think, when they mix, mud always holds the heat. So around these oyster bins, don't be afraid to throw a topwater or a wake bait just all over this stuff, man. There's almost every time you're typically going to catch a fish, especially during the spring. There's always fish holding on oyster. And if there isn't, keep covering water. You keep covering water in all these pockets and oyster beds, you're going to be successful. Some way throughout the day, at some point, you're going to come across a fish that's going to freaking smack your stuff. And since the water is rising, like I said, and there's a lot of stuff getting pushed back here, that means on low tide, when everything gets pushed back out, the creek mouths are going to be absolutely on fire. And those are things you got to look for, man. Here's another set of oyster beds that always hold fish. And as the day warms up, they'll typically leave this and head for a little bit deeper water, sometimes shallower. It just depends what the fish is feeling. If they're gonna go shallow, they typically go super shallow. And if they go deep, they usually stick between 3 to 4 feet off the edge of grass flats. And let me go ahead and show you an example on the grass flat. Let's go over here to Oranges Pass. Okay, so this winter, all this has been pretty much almost dry, and there has been a ghost town. With that being said, all the fish got pushed towards these edges, and boy, they were stacked up. But now the tide's going to be rising pretty soon, and fish are going to be pretty much everywhere. They will push up off these edges and off these canals into this grass flat. Well, like I said, typically early mornings is when it's best. Low light conditions. Those are where they're going to absolutely annihilate topwater. And when it gets hot to the heat of day, they'll probably push back off this grass flat towards here. Now, there typically isn't a lot of potholes in this area. It's all pretty much turtle grass. But as you come around, let's go to Wilson's Cut. As you come to Wilson's, you may not notice, but there's absolutely a crap ton of potholes in this area. And I love fishing this area. It is very fishy. Every time I go there, you can catch a limit on topwater strictly. And this area back here that is pretty much dry during the wintertime will be holding fish. Especially little cuts like this. You may not notice. Little cuts like this, man, you gotta look for that. Because in the heat of the day, all those fish will pretty much funnel onto there and just seeking cooler water. And they will smack a bait if you throw it in there. And it's pretty much easy freaking pickings. Let's go for y'all as jetty fishermen and bank fishermen. During this time of the year, I freaking love Fish Pass. Y'all never really, there's not too many people that fish like the pass, man. It's not that bad. Every time I come here, I pretty much get a limit. There's always freaking menhaden and bait fish just around this time. And casting out anywhere, typically along the jetties, super shallow. And then on this side, it's typically, there's a little cut. But dude, it is fire. And this is the best time for y'all as jetty fishermen. If you're a jetty fisherman, now's the time to get out there, man. Alright guys, that pretty much covers everything. All right, guys, that's pretty much everything. Hopefully, it can help y'all be successful on those next spring trip, cause it's coming up soon, and before you know it, it will be here, and those changes will happen if you like it or not. So, hopefully, this helps, man, for y'all's bank fishermen, for the kayak fishermen. Y'all have a great day.